Hello and welcome to Beyond Mixed Media with Michelle Holden. And in this week's video, it is part 3 of the series where I started with collage scraps. And I'm using two 16-inch by 20 canvas. And they have been sitting around my art studio for the longest time. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to use my scraps, just get right into it. And I have, and I'm loving the results. Not that that's important, but it's so great to use your intuitive art layering practice or process and take it to larger works, expanding your art. And this is how I've done it. I just sort of take the similar process, similar layering techniques, starting with something that's really easy and you don't worry about it, like your collage scraps, and it really takes the overwhelm and the overthinking out of the picture. So as you can see, I'm still and loving this exploration of blue. And last week's, it sort of delved more into how to use intuitive layers and then get shapes. Well, I love rectangles and squares, sort of a rectilinear overall composition. Sometimes it turns into horizontals, or sometimes it turns into quadrants, like 4 different quadrants. But this time, I think it's mostly all over. And this process has moved along much more quickly than my previous paintings that I've used. And I'm really pleased because I was getting stuck. Getting too precious, getting too attached to the different pieces of collage that I've put down. And I think by using your scraps, it really helps. So as you can see with this blue piece of collage, the beginning of this video, I'm just adding in a few more pieces of collage before I start with some stencils. And as you can see, I've put in some real beautiful, that creamy opaque paper. I've just taken some shapes, punched some holes in some areas, and that's my light. That's my lightest value, and I wanted to make sure I sort of had them all around. And I usually use odd numbers because that's the way nature is set up, and of course I want to emulate that. I'm loving how the different blues are being created. And of course, I have the colors listed in the comments section below this video. That blue piece was just a piece of scrap that's torn. I went through all of my collage pieces there on the left that is just slightly out of camera and cleaned them up before starting this part 3 session. Things were a little too hectic because I didn't need to use all those collage papers. I need to clean up before I begin. Not perfectly, but at least a little bit, just so I can have everything that I might need at hand, in reach. And on the right, you can see that it's out of camera. I'll have to come up with a better way or have a more portable palette paper or pad that I can bring into the camera and show you my mixing, because I think that's really important, especially in the future when as I am mixing more. It might be a simple palette, but there is mixing, changing the value, and maybe the temperature of the blues. And here you can see this dark piece of blue, which I absolutely love, which was on the tracing paper, parchment tracing paper, so it's pretty sturdy but translucent, and I can scratch through it and everything a lot easier without worrying about that. So I like to make things go across, bring the eye across, and here we are. So I thought, since I'm off camera, I'd show you next. The next stage of this is the stencils. And the stencils are the pattern and overlapping. So what do I want to add? And of course, interest. And I love, those are my stones, water. I was going to use words and writing, but I thought they didn't seem to fit because of the blue and the nature of how these two pieces, these two paintings are coming together. There's my palette. So it's cerulean, light blue, turquoise, and phthalo blue, I believe. But they will be listed below, so check those out. And of course, I'm using old text. And here, what I'm doing is seeing, and it's a gloss medium on top, so I'll just wipe that away in a moment. For the stencils, I wanted a light, a medium, and a dark blue. I didn't want to use black. That blue's really nice. It's a little on the cool side, so I don't even know if I end up using it. So I'm just holding my phone right now, and just so you can get a close-up. Okay, and this is my heavy gel, which I use for this weight of collage papers. So now that though those layers are dry, I'm going to come in and overlap and add some pattern with the stencils that I love using a natural sponge. So what I think happens when I dip the natural sponge in the water, of course I wanted it damp. I should have really taken out more water from the sponge to get that nice crisp, but those crisp lines. But I really did enjoy and find the natural sponge works really well for a soft edge. Now, I don't know at this point if I like, I didn't want a high contrast, as you can see, so I'm overlapping. So the carrying the eye through and adding a textural interest, that's really cool. And since it was a lot of watery element to it, it had that feeling. These are the kind of stencils I went hunting for. These stencils are not Stencil Girl. They're just, I think it's just Amazon or Temu or just something. So I ordered a stack of them and they're working out just fine. Now, if you want really special ones from specific artists, Stencil Girl is of course the place to go, but I do not have I am not affiliated with them at this time. So, knowing that there is a nice layer of gloss medium before I start experimenting, I am free to do it because I know I can wipe it off if I don't like it. And you'll notice, if you haven't already, this stage of the process really slows down. The fun stage when I was sticking all those collage papers onto the canvases was so much fun, but I will point out different areas in the end. I'll discuss that, especially the painting on the left, and you can see that curve where there's lines where it's light blue and dark blue and all the underneath in the upper left-hand side. That's the original layers. I couldn't have planned to do that. And I thought, you know what? I love that negative space. And this is where shape starts happening. It starts happening as you add layers of paint, collage, and all the negative spaces just start to evolve. So here I am adding that really nice lighter with the light blue and the neutral, so it turns out sort of like a patina, and I'm really liking that. This area, not so much, not so bad when I scored through it, but it just needed a little something to draw the eye from right to left, And I'm showing you now, it's the white with the blue, so it's cooler. So I'm thinking I'll stick to the warmer tones. And there's a stage in this where, so I'm going to zoom in. This is great. So keep going. If something's working, keep it going. But I believe because it was next to the warm tone, it just didn't work. And I think if I added the neutral to that blue, and that's the greatness of a color shaper, because you can just spray it, scrape it right off. I love color shapers even more than brushes in certain stages. There I go again. So that area I've been over focused on, but in the end, I leave it because after these paintings sit for a while, I may put a piece of collage over it that's neutral right beside that one. I might even use that light neutral paint layer. Who knows? But I believe 3 parts for these paintings, since they're exploratory, they're not finished works, but I really, really love how they turned out. So I'm using some extra paint on my color shaper there because I know I wanted to deal with that pattern of collage, which needed some quieting down, and I'm really liking the more quiet blue. Oh, that's so nice. I'm really enjoying this blue study or experimentation or exploration. So when you go in different directions and change the angle, and then it needed some horizontal lines, something just really simple, it feels so much better. And I'm loving that dark. I don't know if that long dark piece above it, but it definitely draws you out of that. So then I thought, okay, there's some areas over here that could use some glazing. And this is what glazing is. Very thin, watery layers. And it usually unifies things, pushes some things back, and gets rid of, I would call the flashlights. The really super high contrast that are a little too high, that your eye is getting, it's just staying there. It's not moving through. That took a long time to be able to notice. How about you? So I'm trying some pattern to bring the eye down from the top dark upper right hand corner through. So I do find the solution in the end. So I experiment with some stencils, but I notice stenciling on the canvas, especially on the edge where the canvas sort of dips in from the frame. And I'm pushing down, and you see how bouncy the stencil is? Well, what should I have done? Taping it down would have been way better. So that's what I'll learn from this. You see how the eye sort of goes right off the canvas instead of coming straight down to the neck? So it just needed some kind of pattern, line. So I give it another try. I'm going to zoom in here. So I'm holding the stencil a lot quieter, even though it is sticking. No, still a little wonky there. And I love this one because it's sort of like writing, but it's horizontal lines. And I love the lines, but now they're too similar to the horizontal lines across. That's what I'm pointing at. So, gotta go. And then I end up using my, they're like organic circles. I showed you, that was one of the stencils that I showed you at the beginning. See, that's too much of a contrast. And it's just intuitive placement, like what's feeling right? That's okay. See, too much text, it's not going to work. I thought I was going to put, that's a piece of map, and I'm showing you, and look at all the etched lines. It's so cool, this map. And it's like a vellum. It's very translucent. That's okay. Already too much of that. So funny. Too busy. And I just keep on. I love this piece of collage, but I never ended up using it. I start cutting it, and then I think, well, you know, why don't I use just some color? And see, this is where overthinking can get the best of you. But it's not like really overthinking. I'm just experimenting with different values here. That's not bad, but it just needs something more than a solid here. So it needed that value, a lighter value. Not bad. I didn't like that piece of collage. That was tissue paper. That's a piece of magazine of the ocean, and anything in blue, I go and find books and science books and tear out all those pages. Anything with sky, water. So here we go. We're going to try the water one with the dark, but I noticed right away, no, the contrast is too high. It has to be a lighter value. So I'm cleaning up that edge, making sure it's dry. And let's see what this one does. It didn't really, it was okay. It just wasn't enough of a contrast. I do find a solution, I promise. So please stick to the end. And if you haven't already, I hope you have signed up for my 5-day free course that helps you get started. Well, it doesn't help you, it gets you started on an intuitive art journaling practice, which you can find your true art with your own mark making your own collage, using transparent and translucent layers, and look what I did there. So please sign up, and if you don't want to try the course, sign up for my newsletter, as I have another course that's going to be added on to that. So it's probably a good idea if you take that one, because it will sort of be a prerequisite. And there we go. So that texture did help. So now it's time for some line. And when I bring out the markers for line and in those, for those last layers, I know that these are near finished. So I'm drawing the whole layer first because I got ahead of myself there. And one thing you don't want to do is use your Posca markers through wet paint, because then they'll get ruined and not work. And then while I was doing that, my eye caught the top of that painting. And as soon as I put that blue down, I realized, no, it needs some of that neutral just to guide the eye. And I call this the quieting down stage. And now that your eye goes right across, it doesn't fall off the top. And I'm just doing some nice overlapping, just where I intuitively feel it needs. And this is the cool part. So notice the contrast with that edge. So I went over the edge just to soften it a little bit. And I'm noticing the white and blue of that piece. And of course, if you overdo it, you can lift it or wipe it away with a damp rag. Some of those squares are what I call flashlights. So I thought, well, let's bring that blue a little further and overlap. And right now there's a lot of water in this, so it's a very watery layer. So it's almost like a glaze now as I bring it on this collage, as you can see. And then I'm going to lift, oh, there, that's why it is, because I added the water now. Okay, and that really brings a lot of control. And I want to bring the eye down and cover that, and then I just do a little bit there, but I notice I covered up the beautiful bright layer a little too much, and that was one of the original early layers, which I love. And so as I was saying, the new course that I'm working on right now, which will be out I'm going to do a sort of a first run. So if you want to be on that first run, sign up to my newsletter, get on my mailing list, and you'll be first to know. And then we'll see in the fall, definitely we'll see if we'll be done. So now I pointed to that area because it's just really not doing anything. It's too busy, too many lines. It needed an opaque, a beautiful solid layer. So I decide to go, well, why do I need to be right at the edge? Why don't I let that edge go up? So that's what I did, or that's what I do. So I put that piece is created on a jelly plate printer with the catalyst wedged, the toothed one. The same brand, and I love making a bunch of those. So I've gone off to get my my gloss medium. And you'll notice as soon as that goes on top, it just quiets down that whole area. And then it's pretty close to the old text page above it. So, drawing the eye up and around. And smoothing out the bubbles, which this kind of collage I don't usually have, so drawing that layer. And then instead of letting it be white, it needed to be closer to that value. So then I just put the paint directly on and use my color shaper just to get the right amount. And you can really do nice edges with the color shaper. But I think I come in, I lift some. Great. And lifting it is really, it really leaves a lovely texture. There we go. So much better. And then I get the idea of a light blue column of circles using my trusty little stamp. I'm probably going, there it is, and I'm going to use a blue. I'm loving this blue. And I love the wet on wet. It created a really cool effect. And now the eye's going up. I think what I do is, it didn't make a strong enough contrast, so I just redo them. And I have my blue palette on the side. And then I decide, okay, well, I want to have some of that on the other painting. and I love just a single circle. As you can see, my what do you call it? My concept is, well, like alignment, water, elements. I've got something developing here and I really want to take it further. So I'm going to be exploring this for a while longer. I want to stick with it. So then those circles and that singular one there on the right made me think, okay, I want something, the same concept, but in a different way over here on the painting. See, now that just looks like a building. That just, no. Nope. So I just keep moving it around. That ruins it. Now, if it was a blue and painted over, it would be just there in texture, but hidden, which I absolutely love. But I decide to put it right in there at the top to lead the eye up, and then quiet the painting around it. Excuse me. Now maybe one of the more opaque, creamier pieces might have worked similar to that. So I might even change it and put it over top. But right now you see I'm just quieting down that orangey, that yellow oxide that's in and around it. And it definitely helps. But I think I am going to, in the next day or two, after it rests, do a little change. And you can do this. Yeah. So quieting down, loving that. And I can see some dark contrasts are sort of catching the eye. But, you know, these two paintings are just experimental. I'm not going to be selling them at all, or they'll be up in my studio on my inspiration board, which I yet have to show you because I've made so many changes. I've got a 12 by 14 new jelly plate printer, a 5 by 7 new stencils, and I really haven't even gotten into those yet. So that's coming up. So stay tuned and come on back. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. As you can tell, I've been with this channel, I've been doing this channel for quite a while now, and I want to keep going. So, loving the blue. So I decided to use a little more contrast there. And I'm liking the results. And now here comes some line work. I thought, do I want to use my gold pen? At first, I'm going to just finish up with some line with my China marker. I love the China marker. And of course, my dashes. I use them in different ratios. I don't want to overuse them, but I'm really loving that. And I know I've gone across the studio to get my gold pen. Oh, no, I haven't. See, look at that. See, I just eliminated a bit. The contrast was a little high, and same with the square on the one on the left. So I'll look after that. So it's sort of like a shadow. Yes, I love it. So, how about you? How do you use your abstract art, especially abstract art? I use it to process a lot of stuff that's going on. A lot of stuff that's going on in, I call it an awakening journey. It's pretty amazing when you want to dive deep and discover your own true art with your own marks, patterns, colors that you love. So right now I'm just finishing up And the gold, I just love putting gold pen on my work. I think that might end up being one of my signature things. Just using it in different ways, being careful, and I just see how I'm just emulating the China marker lines that are already there. I'm just echoing, bringing this line through my work. And sometimes I will do the dash lines in gold. It just adds that subtlety, that interest. And in the end, you see those organic ovals above where I was just using the dash lines. That did turn out. So again, don't forget to give my 5-day free course a try if you haven't already. Once you sign up, you get the first lesson exactly 24 hours after you find and click on the welcome email. So give it a go. It's a wonderful addition or a great beginning, depending on where you are in your art making. So here comes just a little orange, and I just added a few dots in the areas closest to the orange already. So I didn't want a contrast thing going on. I just wanted to play with values and color intensity. These two paintings have been so fun, and I've learned so much, and I can't wait to start probably the two small ones, the gallery ones, so we can play with edges, the sides of the painting. So come on back next week. And please leave a comment. What was the best part of this 3-part series that you liked? You see the orange line? Just enough. Just to bring that eye, and then I do want to emulate it, but on the top. See, it's a difference. It's the same, but I put it in differently. It's shorter. Okay. So now I'm getting that feeling that we are done. Oh, the white China marker, just for a few little, even more subtle lines. And in the end here, I will do some zooming in so you can take a really good look. And that concludes our 3-part series. And I'm just right now just looking, scanning, and oh, look what I did. I discovered that if I warm that up just a little, now you can see it. It was almost too hidden. And I may do what I said earlier. There we go, warming those up because that's just way too contrasting. So I hope you enjoyed this series of 3 videos starting from scraps, and I hope you get started and with your own intuitive art practice, and I will see you in the next video.